Hey everybody, I'm back. This is Nicole. I wanted to talk a little bit, not too much, about public speaking and the fears that you can have during public speaking. Now, of course, I'm not visible on the camera, so my fear of public speaking should not really exist or should not be as um, outright because you don't see me. And it may be hard to believe, but I am not what you would, I guess, classify as an extroverted person. People who know me really know me. Um, they grew up with me and all that, who know me very well, know that I'm more introverted, especially when it comes to certain topics. And it takes a lot of energy and courage to come on YouTube or any social media platform where you are being um, represented a certain way, where you're representing yourself in a certain way, and you're bringing forth commentary on various topics, and you're being potentially judged by other people that you probably will never meet. So the point of this video is I get very nervous and anxious when I have to do public speaking. Now, with YouTube videos, it's not as much anxiety there because, as I stated earlier, I'm not seen on camera as often as other people who are always on the camera. It just comes naturally to them, I'm assuming. But I have to give a presentation today at my job on a topic that has encompassed my life for about 4 years now. It's a project in the making, a project that is very important to me, a project that has a lot of validity in the science community and in our lab in general. And I'll maybe go into detail about what that project is and some of the strategies that we've used to develop the project and some of the applications that we've used to analyze our data. But I have to give a couple of tips on how to overcome the anxiety you feel. Now, you feel that anxiety when you're giving presentations, prior to the presentation, sometimes during the presentation, and even afterwards. You have a physiological response, which is natural, but the problem comes when you let that physiological response take over your mind and take over your ability to think clearly. And that is sometimes an issue for me. So my first tip would be to be prepared to practice your presentation, to have it in your mind. When you're at the grocery store, you're running errands, when you're just sitting at home, find quiet time to practice it on your own. Print out the PowerPoint or the format of the presentation and just practice it by yourself. Record yourself practicing it. Time yourself for each slide or each section of the presentation. That helps me a lot. Use your resources to the best of your abilities, such as your time, number one, your other people around you who don't know about your topic. You can practice with them, but practicing is very important. The second tip would be having discipline. Starting your presentation ahead of time and having it finished before you have to give your presentation. Now, if it's an impromptu presentation like mine is, I was on the schedule to present like 3 weeks ago. So in the meantime, and since I didn't present 3 weeks ago for unforeseen circumstances that are out of my control, I actually had, uh, I kept doing work. I kept doing experiments. I kept running experiments. I kept designing new experiments and applying my data, analyzing data, and collecting more data. So I made that was kind of a mistake, but not really, because I got more data. But now I have to analyze all that data and incorporate it into my presentation. So that kind of slowed me down. So I did not leave work last night until about it was around 7:30. I got home about 8:30, practiced and took a shower, ate. I didn't go to bed until around, I guess around 11, and I got up around 5. So I'm back. I have this presentation in a couple of hours, and I'm not nervous, but I am apprehensive about what people will challenge me with. I don't really care about their opinions about me personally, but I do care about being able to represent my work in a concise, comprehensive manner. And I know that sounds like an oxymoron, a paradox. It's not an oxymoron if you think about science, because in science you have to, in many other disciplines, but particularly in science, you have to be able to give the audience a comprehensive representation of your ideas, your strategies, your data, how you analyzed it, what tests you used to analyze it, what mechanism you think is occurring with your phenomenon you're studying, and take all of that and bring it into like 10 slides and present your work, and do it in a very unopposing way. So people will oppose me at every level on my work, but I have to stay positive. And if you're disciplined, you are more likely to stay positive when you're doing your presentation and when you're practicing your presentation. And when you have follow-up, if you stay disciplined and you keep sticking to what's true and sticking to what you know, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. And that leads into my third point, which is simply to stay positive. Keep a positive mindset. You may be in finance, you may be in education, you may be in marketing, advertising, you may be in science, technology, whatever your discipline may be, whatever your profession may be. You have to stay positive, because people like to see that you're presenting to them personally. They like to feel you're presenting to them personally. And one way you can do that is to stay positive throughout the entire presentation. Now, you can cuss them out in your mind later on, and you can say whatever you want in the bathroom or in your car, and I hate this, da, 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 go on and on if you want in your car, but try to stay as positive as you possibly can, because you have to remember, it's not about you, it's about your information that you are conveying to the audience. So that's very critical. And my fourth point is to know who you are talking to. Knowing your audience is extremely important, because that will determine how you present your information, how you speak, how you use body language, how you use your hands. If you have to stand at a podium, how you're going to use the mic. Are you going to walk away from the podium? If you're sitting down at a computer doing your presentation, how are you going to turn to give eye contact? All of that is nonverbal communication. And it's very important to do that when you're speaking to your audience. You're selling a product. You're selling an idea. You're selling a reference point. You're selling proof of concept of a certain project that you're working on. So you want people to listen to you, and you want them to take home something that is beneficial to them. Okay, and that leads me into the last point, which is to make sure you have a take-home message. Make sure that you have a conclusion statement in your presentation, and that conclusion statement will draw from the title of your presentation and just conclude everything that you talked about, because that's the last thing they will hear, and that should be the most important thing that you say. For instance, one presentation I gave, the take-home message was that the snail transcription factor and MAP kinase, which is mitogen activated protein kinase, and extracellular regulated kinase, ERK. There's two flavors. There's ERK1 and ERK2. And what we found was that snail MAP kinase ERK2 was involved in increased tumor progression in breast cancer cells that we were looking at. That was the take-home message, is that these two molecules, snail MAP kinase / ERK2, regulate breast cancer progression. That's it, in one sentence. And from there, we have published, I think, like 3 articles from the one paper, from that one presentation that was done. So that's the last thing I'll say, is making sure you have a take-home message that people can relate to, that in that audience, and that people can identify you with. You know, they identify you with that type of take-home message that you bring to them. And I'll give some suggestions. There's Toastmasters that help people with public speaking issues and confidence. There are TED Talks. You can look at those. Actually, I think they have TED Talks on public speaking. They have them on science and technology as well, business, marketing, economics, world research, and like all types of research, climate research, epidemiology, communicable disease research. They have TED Talks for that. Politics. So you could look at some of those videos to get more information. But I just wanted to bring this as a way to show you I am thinking about you guys. But I hope that I do well in this presentation today. I mean, it's not like I'm going to lose my job because I don't do well in the presentation. But I always want to strive to do my best, whatever I do. And with that, I'll leave you all and come back to you in another video. As always, have a marvelous day.